Talking.
Yeah, it's like a little silent in the beginning. You know what I mean?
I like that little tick.
Yeah, there's a little tail.
Yeah. We got a new audio engineer,
What's his name?
Miles Williams.
Silent W, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, silent W.
with the W.
With the W.
As we made clear before.
I like it, dude. These mics sound crystal clear.
Super.
I'm glad.
Yeah, this is good shit.
You know, just contact me. Any audio needs you have, like I
Hell
got
yeah.
you. You know
Hell
what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Normal Podcast. I am your host, Saul Jones. I'm sitting here as always with my co-host, Brian Hoodie.
That's me.
Don't call him Sweatshirt.
Just don't do it.
And our new audio engineer, Miles Williams.
Yo, what's up, guys?
What's up, man? Dude, you were so mellow.
Yeah, I like to keep it, like
Yeah.
nice and even keel.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Good.
Hell yeah. Yeah, dude, I'm liking this. Miles is also going to be our guest today on this episode.
Double
and
Diddy.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And we're also going to do a middle of the week Three Amigos, and Miles will be our third amigo.
Third Migo.
Word.
Yeah.
I think we need to change the name of that, maybe.
Before we get started, I want to remind everybody. First of all, Miles made this beat, and this is badass.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like this.
I can't hear it personally. I don't have headphones on, but
I want to remind everybody, go to our website at thisisournormalpodcast.com. There's everything you need to know about us on there. Links to iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play Music. You guys know the deal. We're also
Do
on...
they know the deal?
I think I don't know.
maybe they need a
You say they
reminder,
know
bro.
the deal, but like, I'm sitting here. I just learned the deal. Like, probably
You're gonna
15
remember
minutes
the
ago.
Yo, you'll know the deal, bro.
Okay, that's fair.
You can also on our website. By the way, we're also on iTunes and on iHeartRadio and radio.com now
And
as well.
YouTube and everything.
And we're up on YouTube too. Yeah.
We got all that going.
All of it.
All of it.
That's
All of
legit,
it.
dude.
And if you guys go to the website and hit the contact link, if you hit the contact link, you'll be able to send us emails, contact us with anything you want. If you need audio engineering stuff, hit us up on there. We'll get in contact with Miles as well, and he'll take care of all your audio needs.
There you go.
This podcast, as always, is brought to you by Serenity Sober Living in South Orange County. Serenity hooked us up with these lovely mics that you're hearing right now, as well as the Behringer we got over there and all this gear. They're great if you need sober living down in South Orange County and you're a man. Hit the contact link. Women starting in next
September 1st, I believe.
month. And if you come right now, you get to live with me. I'll
Why do
be
you
your
always gotta
manager.
ruin it, bro?
But back to the podcast here.
Please.
So, Miles, man, thanks for coming on. Thanks for doing. You're saving
Thanks
our
for
ass
having
here
me.
too. Hell yeah, man. You're in recovery, right?
Currently.
Yeah.
I mean, today I am. You know what I mean?
How long you been sober for?
See, since I woke up,
Okay, I
Yeah.
like that. I like
just
that.
about,
See, I have this
it's like,
thing.
what time is it? Dude, like 13 hours.
13 hours. That's a lot of
pretty
hours.
good, dude.
That's
In
pretty
a row,
decent.
bro?
That's pretty
In
good.
a row.
In a freaking row.
Weekends included. I have this thing that I talk about on here a lot about like the counting of days and
Yeah.
how much I hate it because I
Yeah.
think it's addict-like behavior.
I'm in the same camp, dude.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and when we go out, if we fall off, it feels like we've lost something, and it was
Yeah,
just
man.
an imaginary thing.
For
you know?
sure. And like,
Yeah.
there's like guilt that comes with that. And like, it's something that like people tend to wear on their sleeve. Like, oh, I have this much time. And like, if you do go out, like, oh, I've lost this much
Exactly.
time. But like,
Right.
And then we
The
sit
way-
there and beat ourselves up.
yeah, man,
Yeah.
it's tough.
How many times have you attempted to get sober?
Oh, bro. So like,
That
it's
sounds
weird. Like,
perfect answer.
for me, it's like, I never realized how like weird my life was.
Right.
Like, I was always an addict. Like, looking back, I realized that, but I never, like when I was younger, like in middle school, high school,
Yeah.
I never realized how fucked up my life actually was. And like, I remember the first time I got sent to rehab, I was like a freshman in high school.
Now,
Like-
your parents were like,
Yeah, they were like, you
Yeah.
gotta go.
Yeah.
So like, it had already been like pretty bad,
Right.
what
started-
year in high school? You said senior year?
Freshman year.
Oh, freshman year.
Yeah, dude.
Started
Oh,
young.
I started
shit.
out the gate,
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
started using in middle school, and like,
What were you
as soon as
using?
I got to high school, I was just smoking weed, drinking.
Okay.
some pills here and there, you know.
Opiates.
The usual
Opiates.
stepping stones.
Yeah. Because
But,
I drank a lot through high school. Like especially my senior year, man. I was hungover every day of school.
Yeah, dude.
I'd miss classes. You know what I mean? It was.
Yeah.
I didn't get into like pills until I was probably around 21. But yeah, and then weed was never really my thing. But so you had already started some pills too, and then it was weed and alcohol.
The thing is with me, like, I was literally doing anything that was in front of me because I was more curious than anything.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like the first time I got loaded, it was like me and a group of my friends just in a circle like we are now, and like the joint or whatever comes my way, and like I hit it, not even thinking like, oh, like I need this or like I want to look cool. I'm like, oh, what is this gonna do? You know what I mean?
Right.
How is this gonna alter like whatever's going on? And like,
Sure.
Did that turn over into like the way you did in school and stuff too? Were you curious about everything?
oh yeah,
Okay.
definitely,
Because I kind of had some of that. Like I was
Yeah.
curious about. I always asked question after question, you know.
for sure.
And yeah.
I think after we start, well, for me at least, when I started doing anything like drinking, smoking weed, taking cough syrup, it was just one thing.
Taking cock.
Yeah, bro.
yeah.
So after taking anything, my curiosity after that point got, about everything. I'm like, well, what would it be like to do this? What would it be like to do that? And I think that eventually, sooner or later, gets the better of most of us.
How old were you when you got into like harder stuff?
To be honest, dude, it was really like when I got out of military school when I was 18 that I tried anything that people consider hard drugs,
Right.
Not that the others aren't killers, like alcohol and all that, but as far as like ecstasy, coke and all that, 18. And then I didn't really mess with opiates. I didn't even know what opiates were until I took a Norco that was given to me while I worked throwing freight at a grocery store. And homeboy next door, it was a store called Stupid Prices.
Go on.
It was connected to where I worked. And
Bro, the prices were
is-
dumb, bro.
this is my homeboy Terrell, and he came over and he gave me a couple Norcos. I had no idea what they were. I took them. I took one.
What milligram? 5s?
I don't remember. They were yellow.
Oh, 10s. 10 milligrams.
So I took
3.25.
one, and like 20 minutes go by. I'm like, fuck this. I don't feel anything. And like, so I took the other, and then I started to feel something. I was like, oh, cool. I just need to take all 3.
Right.
So I did, bro. And then like an hour later, I had to take my last 10 of the day. I walked next door and I found him. He was stocking shelves. I was like, bro, like I can't even talk. Like I was slurring my words. He's like, bro, you need to go home. It was so bad.
Dude, I was coming home from the theme park after I'd taken him. I think I told on one of the episodes about how I took one with my ex-wife at the time. She had given me one, or her parents, and dude, I get in the car and I
You can
didn't know.
hit the vape on mic, bro.
Yeah, I know, dude.
Nobody's mad about that.
Jesus.
Get used to it.
I don't mind if he hits it. It's if he goes directly at the mic like a dick. No, but I didn't know like that it was heroin, basically,
Yeah.
And so I'm in the car. We're driving home, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like,
Yeah.
what? I
feel.
And my ex is just fucking. She's busting up, and I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "That's from the heroin that you did."
Weird. Yeah.
So okay, so you went high school. Your parents send you to treatment.
Yeah.
Was it inpatient treatment? And how far
Yeah,
away
I
from
was
home?
living there. It was out in Lancaster.
Oh, Lancaster,
Shouts to
California.
Lancaster. And like when you're that young, or at least in my case, I didn't think I had a problem. I thought everybody else was tripping,
Right.
Right.
Like,
I still feel like that.
that's fair. That's fair.
I'm just kidding.
And that's why you're here.
Yeah, dude. And it was weird. Like, I met some people there, and like the typical like cast you see in a rehab, you had the dudes who like weren't taking it seriously, which like I was a part of
Probably
that.
the majority, yeah.
Some like just some worked females, dude.
Right,
Like, they
yeah.
were worked, bro.
Nice and
Like,
vulnerable.
Oh yeah,
God.
dude. The thing is, I met the love of my life in there.
Did you?
As one does in rehab.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Jenny from the block. Shouts to Jenny from the block.
Jenny from the block.
Solid.
Yeah, dude. She was a fucking. I don't know. We were all like under the age of 18, but like she was tricking and stuff like to get her shit,
Yeah.
And we ended up trying to sneak out, but we didn't know it was like a facility where you could like just leave if you don't want to be there.
Right. Everybody
we're
thinks it's
literally
jail.
on the floor, like fucking military crawling out of this
Mission
place.
Impossible.
And then the next day they're like, because we didn't make it out that night, but the next day they're like, yo, so we see you here on this camera, like trying to crawl out. Like, you know, you can leave.
You can
if
go.
You want. Like, you don't have
Doors
to be
right
here.
there.
Wait, how
we're
did
just
you
like-
not make it out?
Wait, what?
Hold on.
How did we
Let's
pass over
backtrack.
that?
I think the doors were locked or some shit.
Okay.
But yeah, we're like trying to sneak out, like
Yeah.
Mission Impossible-ing the whole thing, and like we could have just left if we wanted to. And
Right.
like, I feel like that's maybe we'll get back to it, but that's kind of a metaphor for like my addiction. Like
Yeah.
the idea that like I could leave when I want to,
Right.
but like it's the idea of like coming to realize like, oh, like I fucked myself, I got myself in there, and like I could leave if I want to, and
Right.
like there's a way out and shit. But regardless, the next day, like she calls her like pimp or handler, whatever you want to call it, and
Yeah.
like he comes and picks us up, and like it's this huge Asian dude, like probably like 35, and like she's like 17, dude, you know, like
Yeah.
and I don't think much of it because the thing is, like, I made it out of there, and I still, like, the only thing on my mind was, like, how am I going to get, like, my next fix? You know?
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to
Yep.
get this bag? Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
her and man and, like, her were just the vehicle for me to get back to where I could, like, continue using.
Yeah.
And this is all going on, like, subconsciously, like, in my mind at 15, you know?
Right.
It's like, imagine, like, 4 more years of this. And,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 more years of it until, like, very recently, you know?
It goes to show that like this disease, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter, you know, your background. It doesn't matter if you're rich, poor. It doesn't matter your ethnicity. It goes after everybody.
No, it doesn't
And
discriminate.
at 15 years old, you know, you're thinking like all of us do as grown addicts, where it's I don't care what it takes to get to my next fix. It's not that I don't feel bad about these things when I think about them later, but at the time, that doesn't even cross your mind that it's like, oh, this young girl with this 35-year-old dude. That's not going through your head.
Yeah,
You got
like-
tunnel vision of
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
how can I
me,
get to my shit?
Yeah, get me to the drugs.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely.
It's
and it's
crazy.
weird, like I said, I didn't realize how abnormal it was. Like all my other friends in high school, like during the summer, they're going on vacations with their family, and like
Yeah.
literally every summer, I'm in a different rehab.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like they can't put me in rehab during the school year because I'm
Right.
like at school, you feel
Right.
me? And they want me to like do well and shit.
I didn't
And-
even
I-
think about that.
I had a friend that I think you remember him, Casey. He was kind of a rapper. He was in some rap videos. He was in the house with me, hoodie at Hope. I don't know. He was a meth head, young kid.
Oh,
barely, like-
yeah.
He said one time, he was telling me, he's like, you know, my family's on vacation right now. They're on like some sort of cruise or something, and it's like a couple week long thing. And I said, oh wow. And his family had money. I said, oh wow, you know, how many cruises have you been on? And he goes, me, never. He's like, but my family goes every year, and
I go to rehab the
Yeah,
same
dude.
time every
he's like once they have me
Coincidence?
locked away,
Yeah.
they can relax.
Yeah.
And but
I
that's
feel that.
one of the things why I wanted the podcast to be called "This Is Our Normal," because this is our normal.
Bro, it
you
was
know?
so normal to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I didn't realize that like families went on vacations until like
No.
junior year.
right.
because you don't
right.
care about any of that when
Yeah.
you're doing
No.
your thing. You care about one thing and one thing only. Everything
me
else
mine.
is not second nature, but on the back burner.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I did go on vacations, so like my whole point up to the vacations were like, let's just get hammered. Like that's
Yeah.
what, you know what I mean? And
Pre-game it.
Oh yeah, and I mean, we went on cruises when I was 16. We went on a cruise, and we my brother snuck in gallons of like booze, but he was
Fuck.
over 21, right? But you have to like sneak him on the cruise, or they
Gallons,
charge
bro.
you gallons, dude, and whole suitcases full of beer. And we were drinking together, and my whole family, it didn't even cross our minds that like, well, Saul's only 16, and we're drinking together. That was just what we did, and.
Yeah.
And that was, you know,
Normal.
our normal thing. And then when I was of age, you know, and we went on cruises, I was married at one time, and we snuck on pills. You know, me and my ex, because that was our thing then.
Yeah.
And my vacation, everything.
I mean, you gotta bring that shit with you.
Have to. I can't be sick.
My favorite
You know?
stories are when people do go on these vacations with their families and can't take
And throw
what they
someone
need.
overboard, murder them. Oh wait,
Yeah,
what?
that.
Dude, that never.
But you know what I
happened.
mean?
Yeah.
When they get
Doesn't
stuck.
happen to me.
No,
Like,
but
either
like I've
I'm
heard.
bringing it or I'm not going.
Bingo.
Right.
Same.
Yeah, no, but I've heard stories like.
Well, mine kind of. We went on it. We went on this cruise. We did bring pills, but we ran out, so we had to go down to
That's right.
Mexico. The cruise was
Yeah.
to Mexico. We went and we were hitting up the places. You know, like let's get some oxy. They end up selling me sugar pills for $8,000, right? You know,
Stupid gringo.
Checks out.
and I still took them, and I knew they were sugar
Absolutely, yeah.
pills. I'm like, I'm not gonna not
I
take
hope
them.
there's at least Tylenol on this.
Like, I'm not gonna not do it, bro.
I gotta
Straight
try.
up. Yeah.
So okay, so you go through treatment at a young age. You come out. How long were you able to stay sober after that? Not yeah. Okay.
I mean, I wasn't trying to stay sober, so
Yeah.
right.
let's say very quickly after that I relapsed.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you want to call that a relapse
Because
even.
you never
like,
unlapsed.
You unlapsed.
never.
You never delapsed.
Yeah, I think my first honest like stint at sobriety is like the one I'm currently in right now. You know.
Oh hell yeah.
Cool.
Well, that's the only one that counts.
Yeah.
You know, because it's the last one. Fuck
Definitely.
it. That's the one you
For
need.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So how long? Well, I already asked you how long you've been. So see, I met you here at the Sober Living. He lived at Serenity. You went through there.
Shouts to Serenity. You
What-
feel me? That's the family out there.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Shout outs to Ben. He's the owner of Serenity. One of the best people I've ever met in my life.
Good dude.
Yeah, dude.
We couldn't be doing this podcast without him. You know?
Literally couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, he helps a lot of people out for sure.
It's just who he is, man.
That's just who he is, and like almost to a fault. He's that good of a dude.
Definitely
You know?
Yeah.
a fault.
Yeah.
Man. He puts himself in bad spots, just like
Just
me
to
and you
help
do,
people,
You know? Like
yeah.
Going out of our way to help people that don't appreciate and screw you
Bro,
over.
it's
Yeah.
fuck, dude. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so this is a total other tangent, but like,
Yeah.
since getting sober, like, at least I feel like I've gotten this like perspective where I can look at myself and be like, okay, I'm acting selfish right now. Like, I need to like check myself, do an inventory, call my sponsor, whatever.
Right.
And then like I go out in like the real world, like not in treatment and rehab or whatever, and deal with people, and I see other people just acting like as I used to act, like
Right,
in my addiction, and I'm like, whoa, dude, like.
Yeah.
It's a trip,
And
right?
some of those people don't even have troubles with substances.
Yeah, dude, it's
They're
just like that's just how
yeah.
they be, and
I
I'm
bet
like,
they struggle
wow.
with other shit, though.
Yeah. Well, that's because, and I say this all the time, our issue's not addiction. That's just a symptom.
Yeah.
Our issue is an impulse control and
Disease.
impulse control disease, and it can be taken out through many different ways. Selfishness. It can be taken out through like adrenaline rushes, things like that. It doesn't have to be substance, but
Yeah.
when you do throw
Gambling,
substances
sex.
in, yeah, gambling, sex. But when you throw substances in and we numb our prefrontal cortex, that shuts off who we are. It shuts
Yeah.
off your characteristics, your morals, your personality, and then now we're just stuck with the impulse, and it's so apparent, you know?
Yeah. And what's even more fucked, bro, is like I feel kind of bad, but like I can't deal with these people.
Oh yeah,
Like I can't.
yeah,
Yeah.
But I know that was me. So I don't know how the fuck people dealt with me, you know?
That's why it irritates you so much.
Yeah.
I would think because
Absolutely.
it's like you're like
I can't do it, but
Yeah.
I don't know how people did it for me. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm trying, bro, but like,
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
You know, give us some time, man, and it
Yeah.
may never come, but all
Yeah.
you can do is you. And it
Yeah,
sounds like
man.
you are, so good for you.
Yeah, you're one of the nicest people I've met. You're a really nice guy,
Appreciate it, man.
and I mean, the first time I met you, you always got a smile on and everything, and I respect that a lot, man. So if you ever are having trouble dealing with people, you don't show it, you know.
yeah, I mean, I think we all do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't, like if somebody comes at me sideways or whatever, I don't,
You throw a left cross.
I don't react. True, like I duck it.
Depending on what
Left.
side.
Bob,
they came
we-
You know what I mean? But I don't react the way I used to react, you know? Like I'm able to, like I'll have like whatever, like my plan of attack, let's call it, like
Yeah.
in my head when somebody's coming at me. And I let that go, you know, I let that play through. And then I like just pause and then I try to like look at myself and like what I could have done, you know, like apologize,
Right.
kill them with kindness, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
Also,
just a
like-
reflection of your growth, man. Just
Yeah,
with,
man.
You know,
Yeah, that really does show that you're growing. And it's cool that you're able to recognize the changes that you've made and like what you're doing differently in the way you deal with people,
Yeah.
because without spotting even the positive things we're doing, then we can't keep doing those things.
Right.
Yeah, dude. I would have
Yeah.
loved to get in like arguments with like my employers or like friends of mine, like people that like I feel that they did me wrong in some way, and like I still do in my head, but
Right.
I know that like somewhere deep down, like I did something to cause that. So like maybe I can do something to remedy it as well.
Like checking to see what part you played in it.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
helped me a lot
That's
too.
huge, yeah.
You know, like finding what I do wrong in certain situations. It's taken some of that like resentment away, because
Oh,
instead of me just
definitely.
being angry, I'm like, well, if I'd have done
to
it
be
this way.
fair.
To be fair, to be fair, you know,
Yeah.
I did hit him in the face.
yeah, that's what I'm
I don't know
saying.
why he wanted to hit me back.
I don't know why he called the
I
cops.
feel you, bro.
That's all part of it, though, man.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna still. It doesn't matter how much time you get. I'm pretty sure. Well, for me at least, I know I'll always get into these
Get that
situations in
swallow
my
on
head
mic,
where you know, I want to do this or say that.
He swallows directly into the mic. So, okay, so you went through sober living. Is this your first time going through sober living, or have you done that in the past?
Never did sober living before.
Me neither. It's my first time.
I've only
doing
done like I don't even know what you call it, like IOP, PHP
Yeah.
type
Right.
shit.
Yeah, so I had done just that until so last August 16th, I went into treatment in Las Vegas, Nevada at Solutions Recovery, and I went through there
What's the
for
solutions?
dude. I love it there, man. It was
They got the answers.
oh, all the solutions to all the
Bro.
problems. And then
I'm glad.
I did
So
my
it's solved
IOP at
then.
a place called Resolutions, and they resolved everything.
Nice, man.
But I was like, what I wanted to do different this time was to try some sober living, and I've found that that's been the biggest key in my sobriety this time, because instead of just rushing back to doing all the things I was doing before, like working, dealing
Tinder.
with relationships, Tinder very much, I decided, I'm gonna try to learn how to use the coping mechanisms that I was taught while I'm still somewhere where I'm accountable,
Yeah.
and going through. Sober living has been the key for me with that, you know.
Yeah.
What did you like about sober living? What did you not like? What was your takeaway with that?
I guess it was similar to you in the sense that like I wanted to do something different, and not even so different, just as like something I'd never did before.
Right.
Like I'd never tried to get sober before. And another thing that I've sort of tried to practice is like letting things happen on their own time. And like I felt that all the other times I went through treatment, which are about
Numerous.
7.
Do you need to borrow a hand?
Yeah, I was counting on my fingers.
That's what I mean. Not enough fingers.
Yeah, like every time I've went through, I've left either early, been
Yeah.
kicked out, or like as soon as like the
Kicked
30
out?
or
Hold
60.
on.
Yeah.
We don't skim around
We
shit
don't.
like that.
Let's
What
backtrack.
were you kicked out for?
I don't know. Okay.
I did
so-
heroin. I didn't get kicked out. What did you do?
So here's the deal, bro. And this is not me throwing shade. You have to understand, like,
Hey, it's all
I
good.
Don't
love-
judge me here, bro.
Clayton Kershaw
shouts
that
to
shit up,
fucking
man.
getting sober in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Sea Change Recovery, y'all are my guys, dude. Like, I still fuck with Chris. I don't know where he's at.
Oh,
but
Chris, I love
he
Chris.
saved
I'm
my
just
life.
like,
Low-key. You probably do know Chris. He's a homie.
Okay.
So I'm at this PHP program.
What's up,
like,
Chris? I'm just kidding.
Stupid. All right,
No,
so you're
for
out of
real, like-
pH.
Chris fucking picked me up and like
Yeah.
I was going through it, you know what I mean? Had relapsed, like
Yeah.
picked me up and like told me what the deal was, what I had to do, and like
Yeah.
I didn't do it then, but like I eventually did it, you know.
It's hard to find people like that
Yeah.
like will go pick you up from, down and just wherever. We had a guy relapse on meth while I was in Vegas, and we couldn't find him, and we found out he was deep in the hood on like 8th Street, which is like you don't go down 8th Street, right?
Yeah.
And one of our BHTs drove down there, told him get your ass in the car, brought him all the way back. We had that guy on the podcast. Ray Barker went and got
Oh,
the
yeah,
guy
Ray.
from
Nice.
dug him out of the hood, brought him back from
Oh, yeah.
and it
Shouts to Ray.
yeah, man.
Speaking of Vegas, that board right there,
Oh yeah.
it's the homies company, The Good Life.
Oh, The Good
They're
Life.
based out there.
Hell yeah. That's a skate shop. Is it?
I think they do like fashion and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then they have like some graphics as well.
That's cool,
So
man.
shouts to them. They're out in Vegas.
We'll throw a picture of that on the website so everybody can
Nice.
see it on Instagram and everything. That's really cool, man.
Yeah. But
So you're at a PHP program.
yeah, I'm it's out in I'm originally from LA, so it's out in like Santa Monica.
Okay.
And I'm hanging out. I'm not really
On Santa
like
Monica Boulevard.
so like I'm in there, dude, and like I'm not necessarily like giving it my all in terms of sobriety,
Right.
but I'm not slacking either, like I have
Okay.
a sponsor, I'm working the steps, and like
Going through the motions.
I'm going through the motions.
Yeah.
I haven't resolved to stay sober, but like I'm in there, so I'm gonna fucking just do what they're telling me to do.
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
And I feel like that's how it happens for some people.
Yeah.
Like they go to rehab not expecting to get sober,
Yeah.
and then they find that gift,
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure.
It wasn't in the cards for me. Like, so I get there, I'm going through the motions, but I'm still hanging out with like that crowd that like of people that's not taking it seriously,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I kind of did some
all
of
the
that.
people I
There's always a
hung
clique
out
at
with,
every place.
Yeah.
Just don't give a fuck.
and like all the people I'm hanging out with, they're actually getting loaded in rehab.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like it's sort of that guilt by association thing.
Yeah.
Like I think one day the dude who owns the whole program, he like comes and talks to me and like doesn't test me, doesn't like say anything. He just asks me if I'm getting loaded and I say no.
Mm-hmm.
And then some shit happens, like he goes and talks to like these people and then they tell me I have to leave. Because the night before that, he had kicked a whole bunch of other people out, and like people had like AMA'd and stuff. So that he had already lost a bunch of people,
Right.
and those were all the people I was hanging out with.
Was it
Wow,
like
so-
he didn't want you to still be like bringing part of that group there
think
and then
so,
dragging more
because-
people
Yeah.
into that?
Yeah,
So
that
just,
program had like a reputation of like the people
Okay.
who go through there, they get sober, and the people
Right.
who don't, like they
And
don't.
That
And I
sucks
think,
that happened to you, man. But I think it's honestly kind of fair because I've worked in treatment for several years, and
Yeah.
I've noticed that when you don't, it's kind of like a cancer, if you will. If you don't cut out the entire part of it,
Yeah.
it spreads to the next group of
feel that.
individuals, and it fucks with people's recovery. And it's not fair that it happened to you because, by all means, you
yeah,
weren't
dude,
necessarily
I had
doing
a
anything
resentment
wrong.
over it for a
But
minute.
I
bet.
bet you did. I would
I
too.
bet,
I
yeah.
absolutely would too.
oh, I'd have thrown a fit.
But
you know?
I've been there as a house manager. I've managed sober livings and treatment centers, and it's tough, man, to know. Maybe dude just wanted to get rid of the whole crowd and didn't really care what you had going on, which is unfortunate. but-
In Vegas, I started hanging out with a group that was using, and but I was staying sober off of everything, and it was like the problem was, and they knew that I was hanging out with the wrong group. I had clinicians and everybody telling me like stop fucking hanging out with those people,
did
you
you
know.
listen?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't listen, and I talk about how it's kind of like it was denial for me of the small things I was doing, because it's like, yeah, I wasn't using drugs, but I was sneaking out till late. I was not checking in, not doing all these things. I was lying about where I was going, all these small things that I thought were harmless, and they were harmless, but it like built up and
Weren't,
built
though.
up
Yeah.
into all of a sudden I'm in a car with these guys, they're smoking heroin, and I decide I'm going to snort some MDMA and and smoke some of the heroin,
One of my
because
favorite
I'm not going to
stories.
do heroin without the MDMA.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, 2 hours later, all the guilt hits along with the come down, and so
Perfect
I
combo.
I
Right.
went back to treatment, and I went back there, and I was like, hey, remember how you guys said not to hang out with
Yeah,
those
well,
people?
you guys were right.
I'm loaded. I got lucky enough they kept me, but I'm a good guy.
What
You're
happened to
kind
the
of a
other
dick.
dude?
I'm just
What
kidding.
happened to that? That's fair. That's fair.
The other guy, had a little bit of pull. So he refused to let them drug test him, and then went into the office. And I'm not going to
Shouts to
talk about
rehab
what went
politics,
on,
bro.
but it was more than just rehab politics.
Fucking
This guy
had some pull.
he's got some pull.
He
So
was making moves.
We'll leave it
he,
at that.
he shut him
Paying
down.
off the right people.
He shut him down, and then and I love this guy, by the way. I'm not going to say his name, but I love him, and we still talk. But he, he ended up telling him, "You're not going to drug test me." He got to stay there, didn't get in any trouble, but me and him had to separate from each other for the rest of my stay, and we did, and I was able to stay sober. But and I've been sober since that day. That was November 6th, and then the 7th is my clean date. But I did have to change all that. I had to change who I was hanging out with. I had to try to I've talked about Cooper's color code.
They say stick with the winners,
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
for
so
sure.
That's real.
To a certain extent, you are who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
To a certain extent.
I've talked about like Cooper's color code, like there's level white where it's denial. It's used a lot in the military for like levels of alertness.
Okay.
So like level white is denial.
Like
It's
red alert and shit.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
then you go to yellow, which is like you're aware of like triggers that could be coming up, stuff that could, and you're just kind of on the look in case it comes up. You know that it can happen though, and then if something comes up, you switch to level orange where you start planning. Like if you were gonna attack me right now,
like your plan of attack you were talking about.
I could plan exactly.
Yeah.
I could plan. I'm gonna go out that door there. I'm gonna go through that door. I'm gonna hit you with this. I'm gonna, I'm gonna, try to counterpunch this, and then red would be like we're in combat. Me and you are in combat, and we're dealing with the problem then.
Okay.
But Cooper's color code, and it's that denial, that level white, where like most of society lives on that of like nothing could go wrong, and that's when people die. And as addicts, I know for myself, it's like when I go out, my chance of death is high.
Yeah.
So it's like I can't be in denial anymore. I have to be alert for those things.
For sure. I definitely agree with that. Like, in terms of going out again, like, I honestly can't see myself going out again because, like you said, I know where that's going to take me. Mm-hmm. And, like, I just want no part of that. You know?
See, I've always wanted to stay sober. Even when I started using, like, I didn't want to be doing it anymore.
Yeah.
I just, I've never made plans of action, really. I've gone through treatment, and then I've just gone right back to what I was doing. Or I've gone, I've never like made a plan and tried to stick to it, or I have been able to for a little bit, but it was like grinding it out. That's why this time, that's why I wanted to stay somewhere where I'm being held accountable longer. How long did you stay in like sober living for?
I got to Serenity in February, but I was in like a inpatient program since like last October.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what was your plan? How did you transition out of sober living back into like where are you living now?
Another sober living.
Oh, you're still in sober living.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
I've
awesome.
never really left the web. I was just telling Hoodie, like, I like living with people that like I know, and like I know a lot of the people in like the recovery community down here. So like I'm not too like bent out of shape about like living with a bunch of other guys, like I'm pretty like I got my own like space and shit, and like I'm good, So
I kind of prefer it because for the longest time, I mean, I was married for 9 years, so it was like I've never really lived on like my own, but I prefer living with a house full of people. I didn't think I'd ever like that because my whole life I've wanted to just separate from everybody. I want that alone time,
For sure.
But living with like a house full of people has taken a lot of depression away from me because I struggle with depression. But it's like when I do get down, there's always somebody knocking at the door like, hey, come hang out, or or
hey, can I have some more toilet paper?
well, yeah. In my case, now I tell them go shit to shower. Just go straight shit to shower.
We're out. So.
In my case,
bro, I've done that a few times.
I did it today. I shit you not. No pun intended.
I
did it today.
Oh, okay.
I did it today. I was in the bathroom like,
Cool.
You're kidding me.
Cool.
But yeah, as a house manager, that's like being a house manager has helped me a lot too because like you guys are saying, I know we're joking, but it's all day. I need toilet paper, I need paper towels. I need you to
I need water.
Read me a bedtime story,
you, bro. Like that's my question for you. Like, just working in recovery, like getting to interact with people who are like coming from where you've came from and like, you know, how
Right.
bad it's gotten, you know what I mean? So
Oh
like,
yeah.
on the one hand, I would feel personally that it's kind of draining, but on the other hand, I feel like it would be very rewarding because you get to be there for people. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'll just share this one thing. Like
Oh yeah.
when I guess the biggest difference for me getting sober now, is that like the house manager who I was with, like in IOP or PHP, when you're living there, you know what I
Right.
mean? And like,
Right.
so I'm talking to this house manager. It's probably like, I'm probably 5 days in, you know, like fresh out the hospital, like detoxing. And I'm like, yo, I got to get a sponsor. So I asked my house manager to hook me up, and like, he hooks me up with this super chill dude. Shouts to Johnny.
Sup, Johnny?
Sup, Johnny. I hope you're doing well, bud.
Not Johnny Walker. Don't get him confused.
So
Red Label.
I'm on the phone with Johnny, and like, I just start crying, bro.
Yeah.
And like,
Pussy. I'm just kidding. Just
we're
kidding.
not even, we're talking about like when we're gonna meet up and shit. And like,
Yeah.
I start crying because like, I realized that at that moment I had to make a decision whether or not I was gonna actually give a fuck about other people. You know,
Yeah.
like if I was gonna start caring about how my actions affected other people,
Mm-hmm.
and like the amount of like weight that carries, you know.
Big time.
Absolutely.
I
And, like,
mean,
that was huge for me.
that's I've noticed recognizing some of that myself too, and this is like the first times in my life that and when you recognize that, you can tell like you were a selfish person for so long. I'm talking about
Yeah,
myself. You know, I was selfish for so long that it's like, oh, I
Oh, yeah. I'm
recognize
still selfish.
the few times when I actually care about other people.
Yeah.
and it's like I want Hoodie to answer this question more actually because he worked in treatment for a long time, but
Yeah.
but coming from myself, I've worked in treatment just for a couple months, and I mean I've been in treatment for the last year straight, but working in it's only been the last couple months, and it's like it's still very rewarding for me. Like every piece of it is so rewarding. The smallest things, like I feel like it's just amazing being able to seriously when people come and ask me for toilet paper, it's like, yeah, I'm the guy that gets to like, I got this, I got you. You're gonna wipe your
plug.
ass today, you know?
You're
Yeah.
Making this guy's
Yeah.
day right now.
But like, I know I've heard from a lot of people it tends to wear on you. Hoodie, how long did that last for you? That good feeling, and I know you.
So it
still
never
like
it never went away. But what started to happen for me, because it was always rewarding, is just that after a while, man, I made a lot of close relationships with. They tell you not to become friends with the clients that come in.
the clinicians,
The
and
treatment
stuff, the treatment
centers,
center?
your higher ups, they make it a point. You're a house manager. You live with these clients. You take them to the store.
Yeah.
You help them with their chores. You take them to groups. You live with them,
Yeah.
24/7, and you can't help but create relationships with some of them that you
Right.
get close to. The problem for me that started was, as we know, with this disease and in addiction and in recovery, people go out and they die.
Yep.
And you can't help, or I couldn't help but feel responsible, or that I played a part in that, or that I failed them in some way when that happens.
Yeah.
And it's really hard, man. It broke my heart over and over and over again. I've lost so many people. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's not that it's not rewarding. It's still, that'll always last, or it did for me. But the hard part
I
was why I had to stop.
I hate when people like will say stuff when you say something like, I can't help but feel partially responsible when we lose people, and I hate that everybody will be like, it's not your fault. It's it
but
is.
here's
It's
the thing
partially
is,
your
yeah.
fault, and I'm not trying to say
I know you're not.
you know what I mean?
100%.
But it's like it is partially all of our fault. That's why
Yeah.
one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast. It's like we're not doing enough. There's people dying, then it is
Exactly.
partially our responsibility. We need to do
sure.
more.
I played a part in those clients' recovery, and there's no getting around it. I absolutely played a part in it. And who's to say that if someone else were to fill that job role and have been there instead of me, not the same thing would happen? I don't know. But what I do know is that there's way too many people fucking dying, and our system is failing us.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is too, so yeah, of course we have to take some sort of responsibility for the negative, but also the impact that you've made in my life has been such a positive one, and you were my house manager, and you should take credit for some of that, for the
I
positive
do, absolutely,
impact.
man. I
and you
still
should,
know a bunch of you guys that were my clients, and it's amazing to see. It really is.
Yeah.
Going back to the rewarding part, it's amazing to see people that came into your house while you're a house manager, went through treatment. They were broken down just like I was when I got there, and to see them thrive.
Well,
and
I
just
don't know.
do so
You were
well,
burnt toast, but yeah.
you know? Oh, dude, I was shot out, man.
Yeah, he
Oh,
was.
yeah.
Shouldn't have been there to begin with. But I made it, and it's amazing to see other people make it as well. That's what it's all about for me. But
Yeah, man. Have you ever thought about working in treatment? Or where do you work right now? Are you working?
Yeah, I work. I have 2 jobs at the moment. I work at this bakery.
I got 2 jobs.
Yeah, dude, trying to
you
pay
said it.
rent in South Orange County.
oh, you ain't
You
lying.
feel me?
Wait, what? Oh, dude, yeah, for reals. I mean, I had a 1-bedroom in Rancho Santa Margarita that was $1,800.
Lucky.
Yeah. It was
I
like
feel that 100.
300 square feet. No, I'm just
How
kidding.
many years ago was that, too?
That wasn't even that long ago.
okay.
Well, yeah, it was actually. It's about 4 years ago now. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
probably about 2,300 now.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause
Oh,
they
yeah.
raise it every single year.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
It literally was going up 100 every year. $100 bucks.
That's
Yeah.
the standard rate.
Crazy.
So you got 2 jobs, and then
Yeah.
is that
What are you doing
full-time?
now?
I work at this bakery, and I also work at this like art studio type place where like
cool.
people come in and we show them how to make like different art projects.
Oh,
cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Like one of those places where you go in and paint and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's
exactly.
cool.
We had a place like that where I'm from. It's called Petroglyph or something like that, and it was just like
Allegedly.
clay fishes and stuff that you could paint, and then they would forget the
Yeah,
process.
I know what
it's
you're
called.
talking
They
about. And then
glaze
they
it.
they
Yeah.
put it in the fire
Yeah, it's
thing.
fun.
What is it called?
Yeah.
In the
Just said
kiln
it.
or whatever. Or
Yeah.
the
They glaze it in the
Yeah.
kiln.
They
don't know.
glaze it like a donut.
Oh, yeah.
So you're doing that. You're doing 2 jobs, and have you noticed that? Like, were you able to hold down jobs before you got sober?
Not at
not
all.
even a little?
Not in the slightest.
Yeah.
I could here and there, but
Yeah.
it always ended poorly.
Mine's been quite opposite.
Yeah.
I've was able to hold down a job using.
Yeah.
The job thing's a little rocky now.
Interesting.
Weird.
Except for working in treatment. I really love this. This has been amazing, you know.
Yeah.
It's good for you for sure.
Yeah, dude, I feel less stressed. I've never been this comfortable with myself until just recently.
It's awesome.
That's
man.
awesome. Yeah.
It is about that time.
Isn't it? Seems like it is.
Yeah, this has been awesome. So this is we do 2 episodes a week. One like this where we bring on a guest. You're a guest this week, but you're also going to be our audio engineer.
Yeah, man. I'll be around. Y'all hear from me.
Damn right you will. And then we do a middle of the week, our 3 amigos. We might rename it since it's different crew
Yeah,
here.
still in there.
Yeah, but
We'll see.
we're going to be putting out our Wednesday episode. So from now on, we'll have our 2 episodes again. We're back on track here.
Sweet.
You guys want to say anything before we go?
Nah.
All right. Miles, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
bro.
Appreciate it.
Agent Papa's going to sign us off and take us off.
Hey little Sally, what you got in that sack? You're looking tough, like you ain't coming back. Hey little Sally, when are you going to fly? Times are